Today's video is sponsored by Anchorwork.
Yo. What are you doing?
What you gonna hit, man? You know, feeling the music?
Yeah, but do you really have to sing?
Yeah, I do gotta sing. Yeah, but check this out.
I got time for you. I got time for you, so be mine.
Dude, just put the track.
Why you have to be so boring?
Let me give it all to you. Let me give it all to you.
This here is what I like to call my 4-year replacement. After using a 34-inch monitor from Dell, I decided to give the 38-inch from LG a try to add a bit more space to my workflow, and it worked. It truly did. So today I'm going to share my thoughts on this new 38-inch display LG recently launched. We are going to go over its features, what I don't like about it, and why I still decided to stick with ultra-wides. I mean, I could have just gotten a couple of 27-inch monitors, but here's the thing. Ultra-wide monitors are perfect in size and serve enough screen real estate to work. What makes it even better is that the curve truly creates an even distance between the furthest point of the screen and my eyes, all around evenly. The more monitors won't necessarily mean the better. For me, monitors serve a particular purpose. For example, if we want to edit in 4K, or if you are a streamer and you need to separate your stream and your game, which is just not practical with this. Let's also not forget that rocking a couple of 27-inch monitors is like having an ultra-wide 49-inch monitor. In my opinion, this is where your return on investment starts to drop massively. It's just too big, and there's no way I would personally need that type of space, leading to the fact that my decision on the 38-inch was heavily dependent on that. Too much space versus not enough space. And the only reason as to why I was suffering towards the end of my 4-year ownership with the Dell monitor is because I enjoy splitting my timeline and Notion so I can match my frames to my voice. Other than that, I'd say that even for development, Excel, or any productivity workflow, the 34-inch is almost the sweet spot, where the 38-inch is a bit overkill for that, but I'd rather almost upsizing just in case. And yes, not having a split in the middle or two flat panels looking at me is great. I do want to make a more dedicated video on this topic, so if you want this, please leave a hashtag compare so I can go to Best Buy and buy a couple of 27-inch 4K Dell monitors to compare. What I do like is that the monitor panel is thick and curved enough to fit anything, including my light bar and my Anchorwork B600 webcam, which is what I've been using, sitting so well on my monitor, and it overall is extremely well fabricated. This here is Anchor bringing something new to the table for people who work from home. It's a webcam that has an integrated cover, serving the purpose of delivering light, delivering a 2K image resolution out of its lens, and a nice field of view of 95 degrees, although I do like the self-frame feature since it's able to follow the subject quite nicely. The software itself does allow you to modify some image settings and the integrated light bar it comes with, but for efficiency purposes, I do enjoy using their touch button to turn it on or off, as well as using their touch sliding feature to tweak its brightness. If for some reason you don't necessarily enjoy monitor speakers, you can use their dual stereo speakers to output sound. Or if you find yourself not having a microphone, you can always use their 4-mic array within your video calls. It's a super easy camera to set up, just make sure you have a wall plug handy to power it, as well as a USB-C port close to your monitor display. But looking at the display itself, I mean, look at this. Nice thin bezels all around, including the lower bezel portion that in my opinion is almost perfectly thick, all glued and put together with a white matte back panel. The feature that really pushed me to pay a total of $1,800 Canadian for this model was that even at 38 inches, it currently outputs a Quad HD Plus resolution of 3840 by 1600 pixels. I do admit that a 4K display would have been awesome, but the fact that it still outputs more than 1440p is great. And of course, a 21:9 aspect ratio which outputs true colors on this IPS panel with a coverage of 95% DCI-P3 has been great to me. The important part about this is that since I am currently editing S-Log footage, having HDR10 on this monitor was good enough. It's not HDR10 Plus or Dolby Vision, but it does a great job at outputting true colors. I do find it outputs a super sharp image whether you are on Windows or Mac, and I find it funny that in terms of brightness, they marketed this with 300 nits. The reality is that, in my opinion, it does get a lot brighter than that. However, it does have this auto brightness feature that I honestly hate. Simply because if you do put this by a window, it'll bounce quite often to try to calibrate the brightness depending on the amount of light coming in, and I do find it a bit too sensitive, yielding changes every 5 minutes or so. But overall, for a 75Hz monitor, the whole package has been perfect for my productivity. Not for gaming guys, unless you want that immersive experience that LG does deliver extremely well. It does include fluid and rapid motions because this does deliver AMD FreeSync. Just make sure you are using a DisplayPort cable and not an HDMI cable, enable FreeSync within your menu, and within your GeForce settings, make sure it's indeed active. Together, this will get rid of all those nasty stutters that you might encounter through gaming and even editing. Overall though, 75Hz doesn't seem to bother me at all, but it could become a problem if you're used to smoothly moving windows around and scrolling. LG does have the Super Resolution Plus setting that adjusts the resolution to make dim and blurred images clearer, but it's not a feature that I ever found myself using, compared to maybe something like color spaces, for example, which you might constantly like to play with. This delivers picture modes such as Vivid, HDR Effect, Reader, Cinema, FPS, RTS, and color weakness. They aren't picture modes I personally find myself using on the super anti-glare panel, mainly because of the fact that I can picture and adjust so many things to my own liking. And by the way, the anti-glare is awesome. It doesn't blur digital images as much as I thought it would, and it avoids reflections quite often at pretty much any angle. Going back to the menu though, it is simple. With one click on this little joystick, you access their hard-coded quick settings menu. Here, you can power off, choose your input, change the picture mode, and tweak your settings. I am in love with how LG designs their UIs when it comes to settings simply because they keep things super simple. Like for example, delivering a quick settings submenu to change most user interactive features. Also, their input portion is extremely well done, including a feature called PBP where you can split two inputs, like for example, your Windows PC and your MacBook laptop. The rest of the submenus are pretty simple, where you will find picture modes and a general settings user interface. But again, my favorite thing about this whole settings menu is the easiness of tweaking inputs. This is where on this beautiful matte white back panel, you will find two HDMI ports, one display port, and a single USB-C port. With this, you can also treat the monitor as a hub since you get two sweet 3.1 USB ports. And for those that need it, don't worry, the 3.5mm output jack is there too. But this begs the question, what sort of cables came in the box? Well, with this model, be sure to get a display port, HDMI, and USB-C cable. Plus, the fun thing is that LG was smart enough to make sure their transformer cables was long enough to route it anywhere. We also did get this monitor stand that was super easy to set up. It does take quite a bit of room in terms of depth, but it can be moved up or down between 0 to 110mm, and you can tilt it from -5 to 20 degrees. Because LG made a modular stand with their 4K Ergo display, I decided to use it in order to VESA mount this monitor to this desk, and luckily it works super well. I am able to easily move it as I want, raise it to whatever height I please, but most importantly, route the cables. It's not a perfect stand by any means, simply because you don't have much room to organize your cable management, as well as it has this awkward positioning to it which doesn't allow me to fully hide the wires. The tube only rotates when it gets extended, and that is just not practical. However, I love that their stand protects my countertop with its padding and it's able to swivel the whole ultra-wide. Sadly though, it's not a stand you can buy as a standalone unit, but if you are looking for reliable stands, I'd recommend checking out Vivo. Lifting this monitor up will reveal its built-in speakers. Now, these aren't the best by any means, mainly because they are a couple of 10-watt stereo speakers.
Alors que c'est Neymar qui a gagné le match. Donc je pense que ce soir-là, Neymar a vu qu'il serait jamais le meilleur joueur de Barcelone, et donc il avait aucune chance de devenir à Barcelone le meilleur joueur du monde.
But they also aren't bad at all. So if you don't have speakers at all, I don't necessarily recommend you spend money on speakers. Just know that if you want to add a shelf like so, because of the width the monitor delivers, things can get cramped. And so for me, these two Audio Engine speakers had to awkwardly be placed. So please just make sure to get decent sized speakers so everything can fit properly. Now, the monitor is by no means perfect. After spending about 600 hours with this thing, there are a few things I wish LG could make better. The bezels are nice, but nowhere near perfect. I would love to see LG getting rid of these black bands, mostly towards the bottom of the monitor. Also, the stand it came with definitely feels cheap. With the Ergo 4K display, we got a nice Ergo arm in metal that holds its parent monitor quite well. But with this stand, things wobble quite a lot, and I truly never know whether this thing is straight or not. Plus, the stand itself takes quite a lot of room, it doesn't even swivel left or right, and the cable management is awful, which for me was definitely a big no. It sort of sucks paying so much money and getting a terrible stand in my opinion. As for the rest, the monitor is actually delightful. I love the panel and I have absolutely no complaints. As a USB-C monitor, this already makes my M1 MacBook experience 10 times better since I cannot rock dual displays. I do recommend giving this a try, mostly if you are someone that focuses on productivity. A 120Hz display for the price could have been awesome, but it's not the end of the world at all. Right now, I would qualify this as the king of ultra-wides for pretty much anyone out there. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below. People of the internet, it's been an absolute pleasure making videos for you all. I'll see you all soon. Take care.